All right, we are live. I'm back. My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Thanks to our sponsors, Raz Rocket and GTM Ventures. Today I'm joined by with Tony. Tony, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you, Sonny?
I'm doing fantastic. Tony, I have a little bit of a format. My first thing that I like for the guests to share is just a couple sentences on what you're building today. And then we'll put that whole topic on ice and get back to it in about 20 minutes near the end of the interview. But why don't you tell, if you don't mind, sharing a little bit about what you guys are doing?
So yeah, we're building a from the earth beverage company over here. So CoAqua, it means with water. So yeah, our whole mission is to make healthy beverages cool. We have differentiated packaging, differentiated flavors that right now is all coconut water based.
Coconut water base. I love the sound of that. That's cool. So you grew. Let's like I said, let's maybe slow things down a little bit. Interested to learn a little bit more about you. If I'm not mistaken, you grew up in, was it New Hartford, New York?
New Hartford, New York, yeah, upstate New
Yeah.
York.
So what was life like for you as a kid, and like what did your family look like?
Yeah, life was good. I think I had a good childhood. Loving mom, loving dad. I grew up in a family business construction company, so my parents were always working, grandparents always working. Started working at the family business probably before I could even remember. Doing stuff like stapling contracts, sweeping, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I grew up playing hockey a lot. That was the main focus of a lot of what I was doing as a kid.
Yeah, actually, that was my next question. So I was reading that you ended up at West Point playing D1 hockey as a goaltender.
Yep.
What drove that decision, and what did it teach you about pressure?
So yeah, I wanted to serve. My grandfather was in the military for like 30 years, so that was a driver of it. I liked the idea of going to an academy at the time. So got over there, and then I experienced a lot of adversity there as well. In between my freshman and senior year, smoked a joint while home one summer and failed a drug test and ended up leaving the academy. And yeah, my as you can imagine, my mom, dad were pretty disappointed in me. So I moved into like a $250 a month apartment and was loading trucks at UPS. Did that for about 6 months while going to school, and then was on a pre-med track at the school I ended up at, and then mentioned my family's construction company, windows, doors, siding. Ended up asking my dad if I could come sell for him, and you know, I uh, I was kind of good at it. Made some money early on, and then finished my college degree in economics instead of med because I was doing a lot more traveling sales than going to school at the time.
And then, is it true that you, after West Point, you went into finance at Merrill Lynch?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, did the whole thing with my family's business for what, like 3 years. Was selling windows, doors, siding, and I grew a territory. Had about 15 guys at any given time working. Selling windows, doors, siding. In the call it Eastern New York area, like down to like Kingston, New York, all the way up to the Canadian border, like all the way west to like Utica, if you're familiar with that. So pretty big territory. Decided to expand that down into the Carolinas, and just decided, through talk with my dad that it'd be better for me to, kind of venture out. So I got a job at Merrill Lynch as a stockbroker. It was actually my brother-in-law was working at Merrill, and he was the one who got me the interview. And yeah, got in there and passed my Series 7, 66, all that, and then hit the phone. So that was a fun job. You just make calls all day, and from there got into private wealth. Did pretty well. Just as a floor trader, and then yeah, did private wealth, ultra high net worth wealth management on a team, and then moved over to Raymond James, where I worked on a team where we just served business owners and helped them sell their companies and manage taxes and whatnot.
So I guess at what point did you start thinking about building something of your own?
Um, I think it started, as I was working at Raymond James. So I went from Merrill, where we were just dealing with a lot of doctors, lawyers, people with money because of that. And then I got on a team. It was actually a national team out of Charlotte, North Carolina at Raymond James. And the whole mandate of that practice was we just talk to business owners and meeting business owners and getting exposure to their balance sheets and their teams and hanging out with other founders. And I think at that point, you start to get a feeling where it's like, wow, I could do something like this. And then it was just having my antenna up. So the way we got started at CoAqua was my best friend, business partner, Justin. He actually discovered CoAqua on a trip to New Zealand with his wife, brought it back. They loved it so much. And he said, "Hey, Tony, you got to try this coconut water." And at the time, I actually said I was never going to drink coconut water again. When I was at West Point, they'd give us coconut water after we lifted in the morning. You lift and you go to breakfast and you go to class all day because it's so hydrating. And I couldn't stand the taste of it. And after I was done playing hockey, I said, I'm not going to drink coconut water anymore. So I was a little apprehensive to try it. And yeah, once I tried it, it was just kind of it was like a surreal moment where I had these visions of CoAqua being on billboards, which, we're on billboards now. So that's pretty cool. I saw like a vision of, us ringing the bell on the stock exchange. And I just looked at Justin. I said, let's do it, man. He said, let's do what? I was like, let's figure out a way how to sell this stuff in America. I think we're going to make a killing. So that's what we did. We joked around about it, the next day, the day after. And then the next day, I sent an email over to some buddies of mine in the investment bank and asked them to send me the last 5 years of transactions in beverage and saw the multiples. And it was like, oh, wow, this could actually be fairly profitable. So, yeah, we negotiated a distribution agreement at first. And then after about a year of doing it, we then negotiated to buy the whole brand. And then, after we made our payments over the course of 2 years, we took full control of the brand really at like the end of 2023. And then we fully bought out the original founder from New Zealand at the end of 2024. And that's when we totally changed our packaging. And, that's when we made the changes that's really driving a lot of the growth right now.
Interesting. And from what I was reading is that CoAqua already has a beloved brand in New Zealand, right? It
Yeah,
was founded by a guy who had toured with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So
Greer,
I guess
yeah.
what made you think that it could work in the American market?
Sonny, I mean, I don't think we were doing much thinking. I just think I think you have a feeling, right? You see the reaction of, that you had, that your friends have. We had given the product to, close friends and family, and they all loved it. We didn't do any formal market research or anything like that. Actually, when we launched the brand, coconut water was declining. It was a category that was losing market share, and now today it's actually one of the fastest growing categories, which is cool. But yeah, it was really more of a feeling and just belief in ourselves that made us do it over anything.
And so you came from the finance background, right? Like you mentioned. Oh, did I lose you, Tony? Hey, Tony, you're muted.
Hey, sorry about that.
You're good.
Sorry. What was the question? I had some
So-
people
so-
in my
oh
office.
no, oh no, it's all good. No, I was gonna say, so you came from a finance,
Yeah.
from the finance background where, the playbook is essentially numbers and
Yep.
risk. CPG is brand,
Yep.
taste, shelf space, relationships. So how did you like kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a learning curve, right? I used to manage portfolios, which is very binary. Looking at a screen all day, calculating various metrics, and I think a lot of it is just trusting your own taste. You become a student of the business that you're in, and when we were first in this business, selling, our old packaging used to look like this, right? So, looks like every other coconut water. To us, I mean, it still looks beautiful, right? But after a few years of doing that and getting feedback and, learning more about the industry, you start to understand what it's going to take to be successful. And that's ultimately what we did is we had like 3.5, 4 years of getting the feedback and learning more about the industry. And that's why we made the decisions that we made. So it's just being dynamic.
So was there a single deal, a single, I don't know, phone call or a moment where you thought, okay, this is actually going to be really big?
Yeah, it was. So end of 2021, we had incorporated in July of 2020, like right during the middle of COVID. And we had, hit the phones, just getting in front of like every retail buyer we could. And we had a good meeting with Sprouts Farmers Market. But we'd never been in the industry before and didn't really know the way it worked. So like we weren't counting on it per se because there was no contract or like official go ahead. And you go home for Thanksgiving, and everyone in my family. I come from like a big Italian family. I got 4 brothers and sisters. I'm one of 5, and there's tons of cousins and all that. And everyone's like, "Hey, Anthony, how's your coconut water company going?" And like laughing at me, and I'm like, "Oh, it's okay, nothing really happening." And I remember coming back from that and telling Justin, like, "Hey, man, like, we're just getting no traction, and like, let's see what happens." Like, we hadn't really even sold a case of CoAqua up at that point, and, we ended up getting an email on December 23rd. I'll never forget it. Where it was just like distribution requests, like KE distributors. And then, an email came after that from Sprouts Farmers Market where they said, congratulations, you've been accepted into our, set going into next year. And yeah, we got like $300,000 in purchase orders in a day. And, from there we were in business. And yeah, I mean, that was a big sign that we could, succeed in this. Cause I mean, Sprouts national retailer, one of the, hardest retailers to get into. So that was really encouraging.
So you guys are now in over 3,000 stores. How do you how do you scale a brand that fast without losing quality?
Um, so we have good manufacturing partners. Our manufacturers have big capabilities. And then we stay in front of that, right? Like, my neighbors probably think I'm pretty weird because I'll be on my phone in my driveway at like 1 in the morning talking to Asia. So that's a big thing that we do is we stay in front of our partners. We go to Vietnam, a couple times a year, if not 3 times a year, to meet with people. And then yeah, we have very stringent control standards that we reject a lot of what we manufacture too, just to make sure our customers are getting a good product.
You guys were ranked number one in unit velocity in the West, got voted the top new product at Meta's vendor fair.
Yep.
What's driving that kind of consumer love?
I think it's a few things, right? I think it's packaging. So packaging, they've done all kinds of studies. McKinsey, whoever, they've all done a lot of studies, spent a lot of money on trying to find what makes consumer, goods successful, beverages, anything in a package, right? And every time they come back with packaging, right? So packaging is, definitely what gets people to grab it off the shelf. And then from there, it's taste, right? I think taste comes from the quality ingredients that we use. So, in all of our products, you find, quality coconut water. We use coconut water from young green coconuts, so it's more flavorful. It's a little sweeter. And then what we do is we heat it up to a really high temperature through our pasteurization, and we actually pasteurize it for twice the amount of time that you need to. So that's kind of the secret we'll tell the world. Um, and with that, it caramelizes the sugars and makes our core flavor taste a lot like a liquid dessert. It's absolutely delicious. And then all of our other flavors, we just use juices. So there's nothing from concentrate. The only from concentrate we have going on over here is our coffee SKU, which uses some, coffee extract, right? Some like Robusta coffee. And then our chocolate SKU uses Dutch cocoa powder. But past that, everything's full juice and, really clean ingredient panel.
Cool. So you guys just hired the former Liquid Death social media expert,
Yeah.
uh, right? Kendall Vanskoy. So are you
Yeah.
building CoAqua into the next Liquid Death of coconut water?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think we are liquid death, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
not. We didn't put a contract on our website to sell your soul to the devil, So, that, I wouldn't. So I wouldn't say we're liquid death by any means. Like I have Bible verses hung in my office, So, we're definitely not liquid death, but I think when you look at what made liquid death successful, we're definitely playing some of those same notes, right? They came into an established category, water, right? And they did something completely different. They made a water that looks like a beer. And when you actually get feedback on CoAqua, first thing that comes to someone's mind when they see it is it's either an energy drink or a seltzer, right? It doesn't look like a coconut water. I mean, I was just at a food show this past week where, multiple people would walk up to our booth and they'd be like, oh, is that a seltzer? Is that alcohol? And it's like, no, it's not. It's coconut water. And it's like, okay, wow, that's cool. So that wasn't the goal that we had, to make a product that looked like an alcohol. But some of the feedback we're getting is that coconut water does look like or CoAqua does look like a high end seltzer. Yeah.
So you guys also donate 2% of your revenue to Bikes for Kids Foundation,
Yep.
helping at-risk kids. Why is that mission personal to you?
Yeah, super personal. So, was involved in that before we founded CoAqua. So, I went through a sales training, and where I was working before. A big aspect of being successful in that is like how you communicate ideas to people. So, went through this training, and my whole career just really started to take off. So, I cold called the guy who came up with that training just to thank him, right? And at the end of the call, it turned into like an hour long conversation. I just had this feeling. I was like, hey, like, what's something I could do to give back? And he's like, oh, you gotta find, talk to Bikes for Kids. So I met the founder of Bikes for Kids a couple weeks after that, and just fell in love with the program. So we have a book. It's called Think Big, Work Hard, Be Kind, Never Give Up. We go into Title I third grade classrooms. We give them that book. And at the end of the book, they all write an essay on what they want to be when they grow up and how those 4 principles can help get them there. And the kids think the top 3 essays are going to win a bike. Now, winning a bike to these kids is pretty significant, right? Like the households that we're going into, some of these kids have never received Christmas presents. Like it's really sad. So they go through it. And the long and the short is we have a big ceremony where at the end of giving away those bikes, we look at all the kids and we say, hey, you kids worked really hard here today, right? And, the kids go, yeah. And we say, what happens when you work hard? And the kids go, you get rewarded. And we say, that's right. You get rewarded. And for that, we know every kid here is capable of thinking big, working hard, being kind, and never giving up. And for that, everybody gets a bike. And we give away bikes. And we just did this about a month ago here in Jacksonville. And it's unbelievable. The reason why we're passionate about it is because, it's something that can really help our communities and our country. And, we just feel the mission that if we're going to build a big company, it's got to stand for something just more than making money. And what's cool about it is versus just defining the success of CoAqua based on our top line or bottom line, you're going to be able to define the success on how many bikes we donate a year, which is cool. And, yeah, it's exciting, and it's probably one of the coolest things we do on a yearly basis. And not to mention, the statistics are encouraging as well. Like kids who get these bikes and go through that program are graduating high school, going on to a trade school, military, or police academy at a rate of roughly 2,000% higher than kids who don't go through it and get the bikes. So it's a way to turn the tides on generational poverty, essentially.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's super powerful. I guess yeah, I was gonna go off on a tangent because I won two bikes when I was 10 years old
Oh wow,
from the city for designing a park. I'm sure my designs were a subpar, but yeah, I'll never forget that. And I had
that's
those
cool.
bikes way into my adulthood, and yeah, obviously, bikes are just such a big part of feeling freedom as a kid. Hey,
Exactly.
I was gonna ask you, Tony. So the coconuts you guys get, they're from Vietnam, right? You guys use aluminum cans. You're going after B Corp certification. How important is sustainability to your brand's long-term identity?
It's super important. It drives a lot of the decisions that we have. Actually, I think this AI is going to help us a lot. I just read a white paper this morning about how AI is optimizing supply chains, which ultimately causes emissions and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean we're selling millions of cans a year, and we're passionate about aluminum. We think that aluminum is something that if you're going to put it out there, it's infinitely recyclable. Now, we do have a plastic bottle, which is our big 1.25 liter size, but right now there's just not a technology where we can put our product in a big aluminum or glass bottle. And if we do glass, it'll cost too much to ship. So like with that, the plastic, it's not the best solution, and it goes against like some of our beliefs about just using aluminum, but consumers want a larger format size, and the plastic we use is very recyclable as well. At
Cool,
least for that.
man. So yeah, Tony, maybe help me land the plane 5 years from now. Where is CoAqua and where is Anthony?
Yeah. Um, I don't really know. I think CoAqua 5 years from now, we're going to be a household brand. I really feel it. Whether or not Justin and I are running the company at that point, I can't really tell you that right now. I mean, business is so dynamic and changing so quickly that I just know like today and next year we have a clear path of where we're going to be growth wise, and then yeah, 5 years from now, I hope things are still going great with my family. I like I'm a dad. I got a beautiful wife that I don't deserve that supports me. That's really great. So yeah, hopefully just building more community around what we're doing. That's what we're going to be doing.
And Tony, before we end, actually, I was going to say, do you want to just maybe share a little bit about the growth story? I kind of touched on the 3,000 stores and the,
Yeah,
number one and whatnot, but like you guys have had a bit of like a rocket ship of a year, no?
yeah, it really has been. So we did a little under 3 million in revenue last year, and then more like two and a half ish, right? And then this year we've just had a lot of home runs when it comes to retail authorizations. So 3,000 stores at the end of last year. Um, Over the next couple months, we'll be actually in over 5,000 stores total. By the end of this year, we should start approaching like the 7 to 8,000 points of retail distribution. And then what's really exciting for us is this opportunity. We did a deal with Primo Brands. So Primo, they distribute all the water to people's households, like those big 5 gallon jugs. So we're going to be available to be delivered to people's houses through Primo Brands, which is really exciting. And then, yeah, they're also our DSD distributor for the state of Texas. For those of you who don't know DSD, that's direct store delivery. So those are the people that go into grocery stores and actually place the product. And then, yeah, you mentioned the Meta, the Open AI's opportunities that we're selling in right now. We're number one selling product at OpenAI right now, which is pretty cool. So we're going to keep building on that alternative channel success as well. So yeah, I think this year is looking exciting, and yeah,
Wait, you just said OpenAI. You
yeah,
said you're the number one. So the
yeah,
world runs on OpenAI and
yeah.
OpenAI runs on CoAqua.
They're all drinking CoAqua over there. It's so exciting. It's so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I use Chat GPT all the time. I mean, so do you, Sonny, right? We all do. And Yeah,
Yeah.
I was using it the other day, and I was like, wow, the people making this happen are staying hydrated with CoAqua. So it's pretty neat.
Well, I just got even more bullish then on
Yeah.
OpenAI. Okay, well, Tony, thank you so much. That
Thank you,
was a lot
Sonny.
of fun. And for all those who tuned in, thank you for your attention. And with that, we'll bring this one to an end. Until next time, everyone.
See ya. Bye.